Why aren't more ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz? I mean, there's supposedly a ceasefire in effect. The U.S. Navy's in the area conducting a blockade. There's rumors and talks of more peace negotiations. What's everybody waiting on? Why won't they sail? That's what we're going to talk about on tonight's live stream, and I want to thank you very much for joining us. And this just started out, folks, just me and my buddy having a conversation and him asking the simple question, you know, why aren't they cranking up the engines and rolling through there? What is everybody waiting on? Just a couple of, a couple good old boys having a normal conversation about it. And I thought I really understood it, but after digging into it, okay, I don't want to say I got to the bottom of it, but now I have a better understanding. So that's what we're going to talk about on tonight's show. So with that huge introduction, let me go to your comments and see if I had all the technical equipment right where you can hear me. So I'll say good morning to Social Security Ninja checking in from Northern California. How are you? Mr. Solo USA. Chuck Rhino checking in from down under. How are you? Let's see, we got Mike in the house there. If somebody can give me an audio video check, I would appreciate it. Okay, everything's great, Mark. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Solo. I'm getting better about pushing these buttons. Man, old single dad is getting just to be an expert at this technology. Okay, so yesterday we talked about the blockade, and again, just in conversation, you know, even the president put up some numbers about how many ships had transited through there. But obviously, the 100 average number before all this stuff kicked off is nowhere near close to that, right? So that's what I'm going to talk about, just a few key elements, and I'm going to start out by retracing my steps from yesterday and just talk about the perspective from a ship captain who's been stuck there inside the Gulf during this whole time. And so if you joined me yesterday, I'm going to recap that, but that's going to be the base, and then we'll go forward. Steve, good morning from New Hampshire. Thankfully, the snow is melting there. All right, well, that's good news. It's been beautiful weather here in the PI. Just beautiful weather. It's starting to warm up during the day. Benito checking in. How are you? Butch checking in from Louisiana. Mike, how are you? And Russ checking in from Florida via Alabama. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put the graphic there on the screen. There you go. That's the latest ship traffic from marinetraffic.com. And I think it's still filtered out from yesterday. So the red ones, the red arrows are tankers, and the green are cargo ships. Now, before we start this talk, let me throw the disclaimer out there. You don't know what you're talking about. No, I'm not a ship captain. I don't own a shipping company. I don't own an insurance company that covers shipping. None of that. Okay? I'm just going to sit here and speculate on a lot of these issues like Ron Burgundy. And I think the thumbnail says up at the top, this isn't a real news show. I'm not a real anchor. And this is not a real studio. I'm at my dining room table. I'm no different than you, just asking a lot of questions, trying to figure out what's going on in the world. But there you go. There's the strait. It's hard to tell. Obviously, you can't tell the flow of traffic unless you record the screen and fast forward it. Ships don't move too fast, especially from this this view. But there you go. That's the snapshot. Now, let's go check the president's Twitter or whatever he calls this. 12 hours ago, China is very happy that I am permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz. I am doing it for them also and the world. This situation will never happen again. They have agreed not to send weapons to Iran. President Xi will give me a big fat hug when I get there in a few weeks. We are working together smartly and very well. Doesn't that beat fighting? But remember, we are very good at fighting, if we have to, far better than anyone else. So that's coming from DJT 12 hours ago. I guess that popped up after the last stream. I'm not sure what that's about. Then more just political. Okay, looks like he's posted another picture, this time of him clearly with Jesus. Then some people perceived him on the last graphic he posted of trying to be Jesus. So that's, I don't think anybody has a problem with that, but maybe somebody does. Okay, something about President Obama. Let's keep scrolling down, and then this is pertaining to something. And again, this is him retweeting this from, looks like Fox News. The U.S. has announced something. All right, I'm not going to bite on that. I'm going to go to CENTCOM here. U.S. Central Command, who's in charge of the blockade. So 3 hours ago, yesterday, an Iranian-flagged cargo vessel tried to evade the U.S. blockade after leaving Bandar Abbas, exiting the Strait of Hormuz, and transiting along the Iranian coastline. The guided missile destroyer USS Spruance successfully redirected the vessel, which is heading back to Iran. Okay, so he had a kuya at the wheel, feeling froggy, decided to run the gauntlet. Didn't make it very far. Got told to turn around and head on back to the barn. They complied. 10 vessels have now been turned around, and 0 ships have broken through since the start of the U.S. blockade on Monday. Now that's coming from CENTCOM, and if you read different news articles, there are reports that some ships, at least temporarily, have broken through. Now again, their strategy is, even if they break through the strait, they can still be boarded at any time. So I don't think these ships should be celebrating too soon. If they get through, they may just get scooped up later on down the road. Okay, but that's coming from CENTCOM. Let's see. Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM commander, engage regional partners, yada, yada, yada. Whenever the government uses the word partners, they're just wasting their time. They're just taking their Facebook trophy pics. Partners, partners. All right, let's go to Iran. Their foreign ministry. They have anything pertinent? Okay, here's something pertinent. Field Marshal Munir is in Iran, code name Lionel Richie, for the fact that he helped put the initial negotiations together because he was up all night long. So it looks like he's in his military uniform for this visit. And again, when he met the vice president, he was in a suit. Just as a side note. Okay, our commitment to promoting peace and stability in the region remains strong. Okay, now this is coming from the Iranian foreign minister, right? There's him getting off the aircraft. So they've got a few posts up there. But the fact that the field marshal is there in Iran, you're trying to put together some more peace deals. Okay, so back to the purpose of the video. My buddy, he said, look, man, there's supposed to be a ceasefire in effect. The Iranians said the strait was open for certain nations, and there's procedures and new route they want you to take. The U.S. is there. Why are ships still afraid to roll through there? Okay, so that's what I'm going to discuss. But before I do and get into the first article, I'll go to your comments for a minute here. Let's see, 3, 4, 5 adventures. I hope peace happens ASAP. Yeah, me too. Let's see, Heath, how are you? Let's see, peace for humanity. Never give up. The Filipino crews on those ships are following the scripts, eating balut while waiting, drinking Red Horse and Vidjoki. All right, and then boom, coming off the top ropes. Peter Stemler 6'5". Cheers from Bruce City, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you very much, my friend. Hope you're doing well there in Milwaukee. All right. All of a sudden, I'm thinking about drinking a cold beer. Speaking of that, I'm either coming up on or already past 2 years on the wagon. I know it's in the month of April. I don't remember which day. I'll have to look. But 2 years. I'm starting to think about a cold beer. Let's see, Lanes Away and Kiriko, how are you? Wade Youngblood, how are you? Mike and Glad checking in. Never give up. Missouri Deer Hunter checking in from Duma. Got James in Indiana. And Ethan, how are you? Let's see, Jay Perry. All right, that's all right, man. Better late than never. Thanks for checking in. Okay, so let me pull up the first article. And again, not everybody's here on every stream. But I like to read about the human, what the person with boots on the ground at the lowest level, who has no say over policy or rules or big decisions. And I just thought this article sort of illustrated that. And it's from a ship captain who's been stranded in the Persian Gulf this whole time. And the title of the article is Uncertainty is Killing Us. Captain of ship stranded in Persian Gulf. The crew is in limbo amid conflicting statements from Iran and the U.S. regarding the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so the question is, why aren't more ships just cranking up and rolling through? Trump's saying, hey, it's open. Come, let's go, everybody. Why aren't they doing it? I think the word is uncertainty. There's been so much uncertainty since this started, 24 hours a day. People trying to figure out what the news is saying. The news, everybody's not on the same sheet of music. They've got the company either giving them information or not giving them information. There's the rumor mill, what they're hearing from Iranian media. These folks sitting on those ships, I think that's the best word, is uncertainty. Just never-ending uncertainty, but no need. The word uncertainty describes the whole situation. The captain of one of the vessels, stranded in the Persian Gulf, says that his crew has been languishing in uncertainty for over a month, as it remains largely closed to navigation. Now, that's very subjective. They're saying it's largely closed. Is it largely closed? Is it open? A few weeks ago, The Philippines made an agreement. They said, hey, yeah, you can go through there. The Iranians said, no problem. You're a non-hostile nation. Go on through there. They've said that to other nations. But this article, from this perspective, is it remains largely closed. Okay, again, around 25% of the world's seaborne oil trade passed through this important waterway before everything started. Okay, the ship captain says, we've been stranded here since the war started. The captain didn't want to give his ship's name or locations due to security, but his crew has been suffering from anxiety for weeks thinking about their family. A lot of these crews are Filipino, so imagine they're sitting over there, they don't know what to believe, they're scared, don't know when they're going to get out of there. And let's talk about the crews being scared. Folks, even those, what scared is very subjective, right? But people working on a ship versus sailors and soldiers, not everybody wants to run that gauntlet. You know what I mean? So you've probably got some crew members on these ships who are like, fuck it, man, let's go. I'm ready to get out of here. It's worth the risk. And you've got half the crew on the other side saying, no, man, don't go nowhere. We don't want to get killed. Not everybody is a warrior. And not everybody, has a risk. What's the word I'm looking for? Not everybody is adventurous, willing to take risks. Some people, they like a nice, safe life. Can you blame them? Not everybody is willing to go skydiving. I think that's an accurate statement, right? Some of us like to go skydiving. Some people would never take that risk. So imagine you've got these crews sitting over there in uncertainty and limbo, and probably half of them don't want to run the gauntlet. Half of them do. They're ready to get the hell out of there. So just more uncertainty. The uncertainty is really killing all of us, and the crew is feeling helpless. Okay? The situation is further compounded by the fact that two different entities, the Iran and the U.S., are blocking the strait. They keep changing their statements as to the extent of the blockade. So imagine if you've been told a different story every day since this shit started, you don't believe nothing. And I'm just putting myself in their shoes. If I'm the ship captain, I don't believe nothing. I don't believe nothing. If I'm the shipping company, I don't believe nothing, because look how everything has changed day by day since this started. Please listen to our voice. We are just seafarers. We are not soldiers. We keep the world moving. He added in an emotional entreaty to all parties of the conflict. We pray that good sense will prevail, the captain concluded. All right, so that's just one captain who's been stranded out there from his perspective, and I think he was putting it lightly. You know what I mean? There's no telling what's really going on that ship. The stress of the situation with the uncertainty, it drives some people insane, right? Okay, now I'll go to your comments and then we'll start getting into it. I've loosely talked about, well, you got to think about the insurance companies. The insurance companies, the shipping companies, don't want to run the gauntlet and take a chance on losing a $100 million to $200 million ship. And then if it's loaded up, you add another 100 million or 50 million, whatever it's carrying, you're talking about a lot of money on the line. And it's easy for us to sit back and say, yeah, why don't they run the gauntlet? Well, if I had $2 million of my money on a briefcase on that ship, I would probably be a little bit cautious as well. I'd be like, no, don't run that right now, because if something happens and that ship catches on fire, my $2 million in that suitcase are going to go up in flames. Y'all just sit right where you're at, just safe and sound. You sit right there till further notice. Then the captain and the crew is going to be like, all right, well, how long we got to sit here? I don't know. But as long as you sit your ass there, my suitcase of money is safe, my ship is safe, and also you guys are safe. Now, they may not look at it like that. They want to get the hell out of there. But as long as you're sitting there stationary, people don't seem to be getting targeted too much. You run the gauntlet, you bring attention to yourself, now the risk elevates. All right, to your comments, and then we'll start talking about other stuff and the insurance. Let's see, Reginald, how are you? Lawrence? Okay, check out a Reuters exclusive. Iran offers proposal allowing ships to exit the Oman side of Hormuz free of attack. Okay, so again, the captain's point exactly. There's so much changing information from both sides, they don't know what to believe. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay, Dawn. Let's see, JXX checking in from Virginia. How you doing, my friend? And Maximus, how are you? Let's see, 1 million or 2 million barrels of oil in a tanker is a lot of money in today's oil prices of close to 100 per barrel. There you go. The one tanker that pulled in here, they said had 2 million barrels on board. I don't even know how to do the math. 2 million barrels times 100. Yeah, it equals a lot of money. And it also equals, well, we'll go into it when I pull the article up. But it boils down to money, right? And Steve says insurance companies are telling the ship companies they won't be covered. Okay, going up. Yeah, some folks are more risk averse than others. And, you know, some companies are more risk averse, insurance companies. Okay, so let's go into the article. Now, just certain points to think about. Now, here's an article, I'm not even sure. Let me see how old it was. Some of these articles are a month old, but the policies still hold. Maritime insurers cancel war risk cover. Okay, as the conflict disrupts shipping. So the companies have to buy these war risk covers. And a lot of them have a clause where the company can cancel that within so many days, 7 days. So just think about it. Okay, you're insured, you're headed over there, or you're inside the Gulf. As soon as shit starts breaking out, these companies start sending out notices, hey, we're canceling the war risk. Now they've got a 7-day clock. Before it's canceled, now you have no coverage. So what do you do? And, you know, insurance companies aren't out there to look out for anybody's best interest. They're out to make money. I mean, especially if you're an American listening to my voice. How many of us have, you know, paid company X for 30 years of our life, never filed a fucking claim, and then some little small thing happens, you have to file a claim. What are they going to do? Okay, number one, they're going to give you the least amount of money as possible if they do pay. Number two, they're going to raise your premiums. Or number three, they're going to cancel your policy. Just name an industry. Health insurance. Insurance for your house, your car. Well, when have insurance companies ever... you know, what an industry. What just an absolute racket. That, hey, you've been paying this money, pay us all this big money, but and pay for this war clause, but if war breaks out, we have 7 days. We can cancel your shit in 7 days. It's up. It's all a racket. I mean, you want to talk about mafia, organized crime, the insurance agencies and the insurance industry. How can that, if you just look at it, that's like the biggest racket of any racket ever. My goodness. Got off on a tangent there. Okay, so leading maritime insurers have canceled war risk covers operating in the Gulf. Now, this was a month ago. About 150 vessels dropped anchor in the Strait. Okay, that was back then. And several leading mutual marine insurers, including Norway's Guard and Skull, the UK's North Standard, the London P&I Club, and the New York-based American Club. Funny how they use the word club. It should be crime families. Said they were canceling war risk cover for ships operating in the region. So you got 150 ships back then, drop anchor. Now we're canceling your stuff. So if you're a ship owner, what do? Do you try to run the gauntlet in the middle of this stuff going down, 50-50, whether or not you even have insurance, or do you drop anchor and just wait it out? Okay, so get into this article. The insurer said the war risk cover, which typically covers ship owners for costs and damages resulting from war, terrorism, and piracy, would be canceled in Iranian waters, as well as the Gulf and adjacent waters, with effect from 5 March. So right off the bat, they invoked that 7-day or whatever many day clause. Several other insurance markets had issued notices of cancellation. This is pretty shitty, right? I mean, if you think of it like this, okay, you're sitting down in Florida, you've been paying your hurricane insurance or what have you, whatever insurance, and then here comes a hurricane. You know, it's 2 hurricanes back to back, but they have a right to cancel within 7 days. So the minute they see the first fucking hurricane, they cancel your shit. Why am I paying hurricane insurance? How is this whole industry fair or legal? And boom, there I go using that term legal. You know what's legal? It's determined by the people in power. He said insurance rates could go up by 50% to 100% from 0.25% of the value of the asset to, at some point, like during Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, they were charging 5% for ships going into Odessa. Okay. And it talks about how shipping in general, the 40-foot containers had basically doubled in the region. Okay, let's go on down the line here. Okay, so that's that article there. Let's go to the next one. Okay, some of the numbers I saw were like a ship was paying $40,000, you know, for a temporary policy to go into the Gulf. And then it jumped up to like $1 million. I mean, you see these different numbers. Obviously, every ship, every cargo, everything is different. But if you're used to paying $40K and now all of a sudden it's $1 million, or you go to use the 1% on a $200 million ship, and then you have to add the cargo, I mean, you're talking a lot of money. Okay, so here we go. There's another big reason why shipping companies and insurers aren't willing to risk the Strait of Hormuz. Now, pretty much in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, the ship, the cargo, yeah, you got to insure that stuff. But this article brought up a very good point that I wasn't really thinking about too closely. Global insurers, brokers, and shipping companies are concerned about an environmental catastrophe if an oil tanker sinks in the Persian Gulf. They're really worried about an Exxon Valdez type incident going down in the Gulf. Now, what's the big difference? The difference is that oil slick is not just going to screw up a bunch of birds and beautiful landscape. It's a massive risk in a region that stretches from Kuwait to Qatar, an area of glittering high-rise buildings, posh beachfront resorts, and booming commercial centers. Its incredible wealth and shift toward tourism is a dramatic change from the late 80s when a tanker war between Iraq and Iran threatened the oil trade in the Persian Gulf. Okay, so back then, all right, big deal. All right, so what? The oil's going to wash up on the beaches. According to this and really thinking about it, what they're really worried about is, my goodness, if an oil tanker sinks and all of a sudden all that expensive real estate, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and anywhere along there, how much are we going to have to pay if it screws up those areas? I mean, imagine that. You can do nice round numbers in your head. Okay, the ship sinks, I got to pay $200 million. If it's cargo worth $100 million, all right. The worst case scenario, I'm out $300 million. A few crew members got to settle with their families. You can put a ballpark number on it. But if there is a huge oil slick that messes up Dubai, a huge area, how would you put a number on that? The environmental damage and catastrophe that it could cause. Holy moly. All those expensive houses on those islands that they made. I mean, that number would be infinite. How much an insurance company would have to pay. What the region doesn't have is the kind of sophisticated oil cleanup industry and technology that's readily available in the United States, according to a risk advisor who asked not to be named. Okay, so in America, had the oil from the oil rig in the Gulf, you had a response. Now, it still messes things up, right? It still screws things up, messes things up. You don't got to be a rocket scientist to see that, but there is a robust response. And according to this gentleman, there's not that response there. It would be an absolute mess. That expensive pollution risk has not yet been addressed by the global insurance market, which doesn't have the data to calculate business disruption claims should a massive oil spill contaminate destination beaches. In other words, what I just said, they can't even put a number on how much we would have to pay if there's a huge oil slick that just covers the coastline there of Dubai. They can't even put a number on it. Pollution is offered under marine insurance, which also includes coverage for the hull, the machinery, and the cargo. Okay, so there you go. It's common sense. The coverage is expensive. It went up. What they will say, all right, I'll go to your comments in just a second here, but what they will say also, it's about crew safety. Why aren't the ships going? Oh, it boils down to crew safety. They're worried about the risk to the crew. It's all about the money. Who do they have to pay the most? And I'm after reading this article and thinking about it, they're not scared to lose the ship. They can put a number on that. They're not scared to lose normal cargo. They can put a number on it. But if there's a massive oil slick in all that expensive real estate, they can't even put a damn number on it. And so it just seems like if you follow the money, that's truly what everybody's scared about. Okay, I'll go to your comments. Boom! Troy B. off the top ropes of the octagon. Thank you very much, my friend. I hope you're doing well. I'll go to your comments here. Sling Blade, how are you? Bobby's Angels, checking in from New Jersey. How are you? All right, so Jay Perry, all right, brings up a good point. Here it's flood insurance. Make a claim and get canceled. It's no different with these shipping companies. They got the war cover, but war breaks out and it gets canceled. How did we as humanity allow this industry to develop with these rules? I don't understand it. Just like Papa Smurf just said, insurance is one big scam. But what happens is the scammers, through history, have basically put politicians into place to enact laws that say you have to have insurance to pay the scammers. How did we let this happen? How did we allow legislation to get into place where it's mandatory that you buy insurance no matter what it's on? It's mandatory that you pay the scammers, and they got it codified into law. It's one thing if everything is optional, but when you codify shit into law that says you have to buy insurance, it's just the fox watching the hen house. The criminals in government enacting laws where it's illegal if we don't pay the scammers. We pay the scammers, and then when we need the scammers, they just cancel our shit. And what do? Nothing. It's like, through the years, you look at these documentaries and all these people who have sued these health insurance companies, what have you. I don't work for a health insurance company, but it was like when the insiders came out, they always said, the standard practice is to just deny everybody's claim like the first 4 or 5 times, whatever it is. Most people just give up and go away. Tired of filling out paperwork. That's all they do, flood you with paperwork. Americans and our paperwork. Ink on paper. Just complicate your ass, flood you with so much paperwork you can't keep up. Oh, you didn't fill out this form. Now we got grounds to cancel your ass. It's like what Customs here did to me over a $100 hard drive years ago. Ordered a hard drive off of Amazon. I don't know why I didn't just take my ass over to the mall. Guess I was lazy. Got caught up in Customs. Wanted me to fill out like 8 pieces of paper to get this thing through. I'm like, nope, you can drop that in the trash can. I'm not spending 3 days for $100. That's what they wanted. Let's see, Jim, how are you? Hope you're doing well. All right, so back to another article. But just in my friend and I, a simple conversation, why aren't more ships going through there? It just boils down to the money. The shipping companies keep saying, oh, it's about crew safety. No. That's it's about money on a much higher level. And now that makes perfect sense to me. They're just afraid of fucking up Dubai or Abu Dhabi or any of those areas and then just being on the hook for so much money. And also them countries over there, are quick to incarcerate individuals over business deals. So you wouldn't want to be any of the CEOs or employees of those insurance companies if something went down, because you wouldn't be leaving the country. Might be a little bit extreme to say that, but it very easily could happen. Ain't nobody leaving until all this shit is settled. What a nightmare. So you just cancel it and or make it so damn expensive nobody can afford it. Okay, here's another article here. This is a couple weeks old. Same deal. Ship insurers juggle war risks for perilous Gulf route. Insurance is available. It says insurance is available, but again, there's all these clauses where they can cancel it. And then again, this is only 2 weeks old, but they're talking about a U.S. insurance scheme where the Treasury Secretary announced that some type of scheme will be operating, but then they're talking about involving naval escort. Which would, make the premiums tumble. Again, it goes back to what this ship captain who's sitting there and has been sitting there the whole time, they get a different bullshit story every day. Every day they get a different story. Nothing has panned out. He's stuck in limbo with a crew about to lose their mind because there's no end in sight. It's just absolute uncertainty. So which ships have run and are willing to run the gauntlet? The Chinese. Chinese don't give a shit. They don't care about crew safety. I don't know what their insurance position is, but the Chinese they're not operating by the same rules everybody else is. All right, let me see if I can find another article. And I don't know if that answers the question. I don't know if that answers the question in more detail, but it sort of answered the question in my head. Why aren't more ships going through there? Okay, we know the insurance is going up or they're canceling. I think the big thing is the pollution, the potential for a catastrophe, an oil slick to screw up that coastline. Who's gonna be willing to take that chance? All right, so Fox News, let's just make a quick trip around the horn. Headline on Fox News: Iran escalates threat, says U.S. warships could be hit in Hormuz. And then it says they're under our launchers. And then you click on the article, and it says U.S. military maintaining blockade as peace talks are set to begin. Again, just illustrating the uncertainty described by the ship's captain. And I think, note to self, turn off all ringers while doing a live stream. It just goes back to the words are uncertainty. But just coming in, an Iranian official warns U.S. warships that they are within missile range. Coming from a senior Iranian official, reminding American naval forces that you are now under our missile launchers. That's a quote. Under our missile launchers. Okay, and according to this Iranian official, the launchers have been The launchers have most likely been moved by our brothers and are now aimed at the Abraham Lincoln and All-American warships. They are all under our launchers now, and we will sink them all. We will not allow a single one to escape us. So on one hand, we're talking peace, come on through, take this route. On the other hand, people are making fresh threats. Big Pumpkin, can you trade cold coat for this one? I forgot. Yeah, just give me a cold coat. Put that one back in there. Folks, bear with me for just a minute. I sat there and didn't open my Coke. I let it get hot, so I got to trade it out for a cold one. Big Pumpkin coming here, chowing down on a plate of pancit. Well, whose pancit is this?
Yours.
Okay. Let me, I'm going to hold this up for the screen. Let me get... show you what Big Pumpkin brought me. Okay. Big old plate of pancit right there. Babe, wait, what's the saying about pancit? Pancit is the key to long life?
Yep.
Yeah. Pancit's basically vegetables, little noodles, some chicken, soy sauce. Everything here is made with soy sauce, but it's the secret to long life, according to my Filipino old lady. Baby, did you want to make a comment on today's situation? Can you bend down a little bit? And no, don't smack. I'm running this very sensitive microphone here. It's picking up all your nibbling activity.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to comment on the Strait of Hormuz, the Iran war? No more comments?
Tired of that.
Okay.
That's the only comment I get.
You're tired of that. Okay. Did any of the Sirak girls want to come here and
No,
do,
they don't. They don't. Ano.
Man, but everybody would like to see Girly. She's looking so beautiful today.
I'm looking beautiful too.
Yeah, but they would rather see Girly. You're a middle-aged single mom. She's a young single lady out there.
Did you see my hair? My.
Baby, okay. If a Filipina can see herself in the camera,
I'm looking.
okay, all right, that's enough. Hey, don't use that CR. Use the one upstairs. I'm trying to do a live stream here and talk about serious real-world events. Well, that's all they need is to. You see the stress I'm under here. Yeah, that's Mr. Solo, exactly. That's Fatima's assessment of what's going on. Is she's tired of that. It went from too much blah, 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 just bomb them now, to now she's tired of that. That's it. Yeah, maybe DJT wants Big Pumpkin to take over for Caroline Levitt if she needs a break. Put Big Pumpkin up there. Okay, boom. Let's see. Diana, how are you? Love your content. Watching you walk around with your peeps makes me smile. Stay safe. Thank you very much. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, sponsored by Coca-Cola and Pancit. Now, folks, Pancit is good. Okay? It's not bad. But the problem with Pancit is when you come here, if you don't intervene, Pancit is just served way too often. Monday night. What do you want for supper? How about Pancit? Okay. Tuesday night. What are you going to cook? How about Pancit? And it just goes on and on. Saturday night. Oh, we could cook Pancit. Like, you get to the point, you're like, no, I don't want any Pancit. Let's see, Michael checking in from Memphis. How are you, my friend? Hope you're doing well. All right, so I'll refresh the screen here. And it doesn't look like there is a plethora of tankers transiting the Strait of Hormuz. We'll come over here to DJT, see if he's posted anything. Coming up on 9 a.m. there, his time. So he's up and around. See if he's got anything new for us. Got way too many ads on his platform. Doesn't look like he's got much new. And let's check SyncCom here. Okay, still nothing new. That's the latest post right there that's sort of, well, it's pertinent to what we're talking about. Let's see, Filipina checking in from New Jersey. How are you? Where's the kids? They're in school right now. Now, a lot of the schools around here have already let out for the summer, but our kids' school is on a totally separate schedule. They've got over another month to go, which is totally not in line with most of the schools here in the PI. Well, I say the PI. Different schools are on different schedules. Still screwed up from back from 2020 when they changed the schedules. Let's see, Beverly, how are you? Okay, Voodoo says I had a big arch burger at McDo, and it was, what does that mean? So-so, 50-50? I looked at what a big arch burger is. All it is 2 quarter pounders put together. If you look at the number of calories of a quarter pounder and look at the big arch, they're basically double. They're just fooling us with the marketing. They're just like, man, we got too many quarter pounders. What do we do? I got a great idea. Take out one of the pieces of bread, put them together. We're going to call it the Big Arch. Everybody's going to buy it. Man, that's a great burger. It's just 2 quarter pounders put together. Okay, Sling Blade. Didn't they cancel the people of LA's insurance days before the wildfires, almost like the governor told them ahead of time? You know, all these politicians, like I said, I look at them like they're just criminals. They're just the biggest crime family, just taking care of each other. All right? They, insurance agency inserts their guy to enact laws and legislation to benefit their industry. Us poor people are just screwed. You have to buy it. You have to pay it by law. They forced us by law to buy this bullshit scam ink on paper that don't mean nothing. It's the most expensive ink on paper that we have to buy. Maybe not the most, but one of the most expensive. Think about it. What's insurance? An insurance binder, a policy. It's ink on paper. You've got this stack of papers that they sold you for thousands and thousands of dollars per year or per month, depending on what you've got. And all you've got is a stack of papers, ink on paper, that's worth what? 10 cents? It's really worth about less than a quarter for the ink. The printer ink, the paper, it's worth a quarter. You spent $10,000 for that. Because when you file a claim, there's a good chance you ain't getting shit, Jack. Denied. It's just the crime families working together. The state of California crime family working with the insurance industry crime family. Yeah, I gotta make me another I got to do another cooking show. We did one way back in the day where we made a Big Mac, me and Big Pumpkin. Turned out delicious. Better than McDo's Big Mac. Much better. Years ago. The video is somewhere here on the channel. All right, so let me go through my articles. This article is coming out of Al Jazeera. How many ships have passed the Strait of Hormuz and how many were attacked? Okay. This article is from 14 April, so a recent article. Ship tracking data shows 279 ships have passed through the strait and 22 have been attacked since the war on Iran began. And again, it used to be right at 100 per day. And this article is a couple days old. At least 3 tankers entered the Gulf via the Strait of Hormuz on Tuesday. Shipping data from these two sources show. So that's 2 days ago. Okay, the Panama flagged Peace Gulf is heading to the UAE after transiting the new route between the islands of Larak and Hormuz in Iranian territorial waters that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has ordered all vessels to take. So here we go, back to the poor captain sitting over there. They got to take orders from Iran, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the U.S. Navy. They don't know what to believe. And according to this, who does it seem is in charge of the ship traffic through the strait? The IRGC. Why would they be asking for their permission and listening to their orders about what route to take? Just a question. Why wouldn't you listen to the U.S. who are running a blockade? Oh, but they're not blockading the whole strait. Very confusing. Okay. Earlier, 2 United States sanctioned tankers. So they've sanctioned the tankers. They passed through the strait, but they were not headed to Iranian ports. So therefore, they weren't affected by the blockade. More confusion. We've sanctioned these ships, but come on through since you're not going to Iran. Did they just sort of get unsanctioned? So before the war, ships used 2 dedicated lanes that function like a divided highway. Okay. There was a 2-mile lane that carried inbound traffic separated by a 3-kilometer buffer and an identical outbound lane just below it. Okay, March 2nd, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced that the strait was closed. Any vessels tried to cross it, they would set those ships ablaze. In a statement, the IRGC said all vessels must use the new map for navigation due to the likelihood of the presence of various types of anti-ship mines in the main traffic zone. It labeled the area previously used as restricted. So here we go. They put out a new map. Hey, this is the new map. This is the new route you have to take because there's a likelihood that there are mines in the old route. Ships are instructed to enter the strait north of Larak Island and exit south of it until further notice in coordination with the IRGC's Navy. Just absolutely what a mess. And the restricted area, I wonder if I could pull this map up here. All right, y'all look at me for a second while I do some research. I'm gonna try to pull this map up. Got too many keyboards and mouses here. Would be mice. I want to show you the map because when you look at the map, let's see. Just a second. Okay, I'm on the right side. Let me just pull it up here. Okay, so the first graphic I'm going to put up there. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay, there we go. So this graphic here, if accurate, lays out everybody's territorial waters. So when you get around the strait, you got Iran on one side, Oman on the other side. Okay? All right. But if we scroll down through here, okay, keep scrolling to the alternative route. Now notice how on the previous map, this was labeled as Omani territory. But now, according to this graphic, this is the restricted area by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And so what they're saying now is you have to drive up here, go north of that island coming inbound, and then go south of the island going inbound, because we may have mined this area here that says restricted. Now look, I'm just a dome redneck, okay? But yesterday when I was talking about how I now view the Iranians as greedy pirates, and if you missed that, I'll explain it in a second. But if we go up to this map, this map too, these waters right here belong to Oman. On this side belongs to Iran. This little area here is disputed. This one here doesn't seem to be disputed. That belongs to Oman, right? I'm just a dumb redneck. This one says the same thing, unless Al Jazeera doesn't know how to create a map. So there you go. That belongs to Oman. That belongs to Oman. But the new map that these assholes put out looks like they mined Oman's territory. They didn't mine their own territory. They went over there and mined somebody else's fucking territory. So like the more I think about their thought process, this is not just them saying, hey, this is our territory, and they're just greedy pirates. They're just greedy pirates. Okay? Now, if you didn't listen to my analogy yesterday, let me just use a map here. Okay? Everybody's aware of the Somali pirates and the hijackings at sea, taking ships hostage while they're just trying to sail by off their coastline. You know, these ships aren't going to Somalia. They're just passing by. We're just passing by the coastline. Everybody's seen that movie, right? Captain whoever it was. Everybody knows the stories. So if a small boat with Somali pirates board the ship and they point an AK-47 at the ship's captain and say, okay, we're taking over the ship until your company pays us $2 million. The company pays them $2 million to get the ship back. They leave the ship. They go on about their way. It's robbery. How do you look at it? They're pirates. It's piracy on the high seas. They're thieves. They're train robbers. They're nothing but thieves. You could say it's extortion. Yeah, they extorted money, but the simplistic term, they're horse thieves. Okay? So you're driving your boat. You pay these pirates right here just because you're driving by in the vicinity of their coastline. And you come on, drive on up this way. You know, Oman don't give you no trouble. You're driving through here. And just because you drive past these assholes here, they want you to be under their control and potentially pay them a toll just by driving past their coastline. And if you don't listen to us and take the route that we tell you, or in the instance of these, reports that people have had to pay $2 million tolls to go through there, we'll send a drone to hit your ship and set it ablaze. What's the difference than a Somali pirate pointing an AK-47 at the captain and stealing $2 million for a toll fee? You came by our country, you got to pay a toll. Versus these assholes pointing a drone or a rocket at the ship, which can put a bigger hole, and saying, pay us $2 million or we'll put a hole in your ship. What's the difference? Well, for me, there is no difference. Now, somebody yesterday brought up the point that the Somali pirates aren't representing the government. These assholes are. For me, it's just ink on paper. These guys have patches and, rank and what have you. The other ones don't. Well, maybe they do. They have their own internal chain of command. It just don't look as official. From my point, they're just greedy pirates. It just goes down to the money. How much money did the Obama administration put on that plane? They what was it, a 757? They flew over and just picked up money, gave them fucking money. They're just greedy pirates. It's got nothing to do with religion, tradition, nothing. It's about the money, and they are just greedy, greedy pirates. Now, with that said, what I said yesterday was that apparently the Iranians don't understand that there are other countries on this side of the Gulf. They think this is a bay. They're operating like it's the Bay of Iran. Okay? And what my analogy was if it was a bay, well, then you pretty much got to follow their rules. Come over here to the PI. Let's just illustrate this. You didn't see my argument yesterday. All right, that's the Bay of Manila. When you enter that bay, you're surrounded by the same country. All right, they can make up their own rules if they want to. I got no problem with that. It's not like you can argue, hey, I need freedom of navigation because I'm sailing to another country. No, this country controls that. That's a bay. The Persian Gulf is not a bay because there are other countries on the other side of the waterway. So what would give these just delusional individuals in their twisted mind at any point to think that they can control people trying to go to their own damn country just because we drove by your coastline? Again, no different than Somali pirates. These pirates are just more greedy. Okay? Refresh the tracker here. All right, I'll go to your comments. Okay, Jeff says, for what it's worth, it was reported today that the minesweepers have not found any mines in the Strait of Hormuz. All right. Thanks for bringing that up, my friend. Now, when we talk about the mines, it's a question. Did they put some mines out there? Are they just making threats? They could have put 0 mines out there. I mean, they're just bluffing. Let's see. Let me see if I can pull up. Had an article pulled up here. Okay, well, here's a related article. This came out, yesterday? According to the Washington Post, the U.S. is sending an additional 10,000 troops to the Middle East before the end of April. U.S. officials have told the Washington Post. Let's see, U.S. officials reported that the U.S. was sending 6,000 troops on board the USS George Bush carrier. 4,200 other troops from the Boxer Amphibious Ready Group. Okay, the 11th MEU expected to arrive near the end of the month. If it's noisy in the background, it's because I've got the Searite girls again out on the carport. Get a group of Filipinas together, they get noisy. Okay, here's a different article, back to the insurance, just giving some for examples. Before the crisis, the war risk insurance for a vessel passing through the Gulf would be like at 0.02%, 0.05%. The premiums have reportedly jumped to 0.5 to 1% of the vessel's value or even more. Again, if a vessel's 200 million, 100 million, 200 million, you're looking at $1 million or $2 million. This other stat says a tanker that's valued at 120 million normally would pay maybe 40,000, and now it's between 600,000 to 1.2 million for a single trip. Just to throw some ballpark numbers out there. Okay, now this is coming from ships exit Gulf from Iran despite the U.S. blockade, according to trackers. At least 3 ships sailing from Iranian ports crossed the strait despite a U.S. military blockade. But some vessels later turned back. Okay, so what were they carrying? The Liberia flag bulk carrier Christiana crossed the strait after unloading 74,000 tons of corn at an Iranian port. So we're always going to see 2 sides of the story. The U.S. is going to paint the perfect story. Iranians are going to paint their perfect story, and then somewhere in between is probably what the ground truth is. But according to CENTCOM, let's go back to what they say. They did have some try to evade. But according to CENTCOM, out of 10, they turned around 10. 0 have broken through since the start of the blockade.
We're going. I think girl is going to the office.
Okay. All right.
Catch up.
Yeah, I'll catch up with you. All right. Big Pumpkin disturbing my stream. Okay, another article from the insurance industry about pollution and liability risks. So I'm not an insurance salesman. I'm not inside the insurance industry. But the articles going around, if you start looking at it, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the pollution, the liability of pollution, some type of oil slick, environmental exposure type stuff. Because again, say you got a load of tennis shoes. Okay, the ship sinks. All right, that's $100 million. The load of shoes is X amount. We got to compensate the crew. You can come up with some ballpark figure. But if a ship sinks with 2 million barrels of oil right there next to Dubai, how much money is it going to cost us? The previous article said they don't even have the data. They can't even fathom how much it would cost. So here you go. Here's all the things they're worried about. Oil spills, hazardous material releases, long-term ecological damage, which they're going to have to compensate somebody for. All of those things right there. That's what's scaring the hell out of them. Okay, back in late 2023, I'm not sure exactly when it went down, but there was a tanker hit in the Red Sea, spilled a bunch of crude oil, talking about the environmental threats. So it's already happened. I don't know what they're paying out or what's the situation of that, but it just sounds like that's the main deal, or one of the main deals. The other thing too is they're saying that, okay, the other reason they're not in such a big hurry, and think about this as well, is that you have a ship and you're outside, you're free to go. You're outside the Persian Gulf, right? Now, you can use that ship and keep it running. You just got to go to other places. You go to America, pick up oil, you make money. You go to wherever, China, to pick up this, and you make money. So if your ship is outside the Persian Gulf, you're free to go make money in other routes, other markets, other places, and you don't have to deal with this shit. If you go inside the strait, what other huge risk are you taking a chance on? Okay, yeah, it's open, come on in. You come on in, next thing you know, the next day they close it again. Now you're stuck there with this poor ship captain who's been stuck the whole time. So who would want to risk getting your ship stuck inside that zone? Because while you're sitting there at anchor, you ain't making no money. And you still got to pay the payments and still got to pay the bills. That's the other big reason. I'd be like, nah, dog. I'll go work over here and run ship between China and wherever until that cools down. I got no interest in going inside that Persian Gulf and potentially getting stuck for 6 months or an unknown amount of time. Don't make no sense, right? If you're the working dude trying to figure out how to make money, if you look at it on a smaller level, you're not going to go in there. Okay, I did have an article pulled up about mines. Know if I can find it here. Got so many tabs open. And I'm not sure how many's in there now, but as of March 3rd, they were throwing around 150 tankers at anchor when all this stuff started going down. Start Xing out on some of these. Maybe it's over here. I had a nice article pulled up. It just had some chronology of events that have went down since the 80s. And, long story short, we don't know if they're threatening that they mine that area or they really did it. Okay, but in the past, realize they've really done it. So you have to take them serious. It's not like they've never done it or a ship has never hit a mine. A U.S. warship hit a mine on one of the first convoys through there. I don't know if I think it was the 80s. Again, I can't find my article. I had too many tabs pulled up. But you have to take them serious because they've done it. They had the capability, have the capability. They've done it in the past. Are they bluffing now? You can't trust them. Okay, maybe I'm getting it pulled up here. Okay, so this is Operation Praying Mantis was an attack on 18 April 1988 by the U.S. Armed Forces within Iranian territorial waters in retaliation for the Iranian naval mining of international waters in the Persian Gulf during the Iran-Iraq War and the subsequent damage to an American warship. The U.S. Navy attacked with several groups of surface warships plus aircraft from the USS Enterprise. Okay, so anyhow, the threat is real. I guess the point is. And I'll go back to your comments. Let's see, Doug says, you're just beating your gums. If you want to see what's really happening, go to what's going on with shipping. Thank you very much for that information, Doug. Certainly appreciate you being here. You must have missed the disclosure when I said I'm not an expert on shipping. I'm not an international lawyer on shipping. But if I want to sit here and beat my gums on my own show, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I want to thank you very much for being here. But if you want a subject matter expert, according to Doug, go on over to that show right there. All right, so Mike and Glad has seen on the news the U.S. has detected 0 mines so far. Okay, Lee says, everyone does realize that all U.S. warships and submarines have the most sophisticated sonar and radar in the world. If there were any mines in the area, they would have known about it weeks ago. All right, so I got 64 thumbs ups, 1 thumbs down. I want to say I appreciate everybody for those thumbs ups. It really helps out with the Google squirrels. Even the thumbs down. I'll take either way. Iran is using a scare tactic about the mines. I mean, it could be. I mean, when you have a history of actually doing it, and a U.S. warship has actually hit a mine, and I watched a documentary about that years ago. That was thousands of beers ago, so I just can't remember all the details. But I watched the documentary, really good documentary about that incident. So they have a history of doing it. Ships getting hit by mines, you have to take them seriously. It's not their first rodeo. So if they draw that little map and say this is a restricted area and allude to the fact that there are mines there, well, you would be silly not to take them serious. Is it a bluff? Maybe, possibly, probably. But you have to take them serious until the U.S. Navy says, all right, they're bullshitting. The area is clear. I'm definitely not going to trust, if I'm a ship captain. Now look, I used to be a boat captain. I had a 24-foot walk around named the One Muff Diver. Uniform of the day, I had a Greek captain's hat and an OD green Speedo when I was at the helm. She was kept down at Hollover Park, same place that the Naked Beach is, right there, Miami, Florida. So I do know a little bit about being a boat captain, but I'm not a ship captain. But I can tell you this. If word started circulating around that Hollover Cut was mined, am I just going to crank up the 1 month diver and roll through there if the harbor master or whoever says, nah, it's safe. Nah, man, it's safe going through there. Yeah, but everybody else is saying the place might be mine. Am I going to take a risk like that, or am I going to lay back and let somebody else take the beach? You know, my love of my boat, the 1 month diver. I'm not rolling out that cut if there's rumors that there's fucking mines in there. No, I'll lay back and chill for a while. I ain't in no big hurry. I Laugh says pictures of boat and Speedo, or it never happened. I got pictures. I'll have to dig some up. Actually, there's pictures. I think there's pictures in my second book of the 1 month diver. She was a beauty. What a great time, great lifestyle. She was an old boat. Had a little sign that said, caution, boat and or crew subject to go down at any moment. Some good times back then. All right, folks, few more minutes, few more comments, and I'm going to go ahead and call this stream Iraqi good. Iraqi good, Iraqi done. That can mean anywhere from a 2% solution on up to like a 40% solution. Means it's good, it's done. 84 folks watching right now. Thank y'all very much for hanging out. I'll just tell you what I'm planning for the next live stream. I'm going to get off of the Iran war discussion, and I'm just going to talk about some things that just some changes, some things going down here in the Philippines. Not a big deal. You just want to know about them. Some of the things they're starting to enforce. I'll just put the information out there. So the next live stream, I'll talk about something here locally that just caught my attention. That they're starting to sort of crack down on. So that'll be the next topic of discussion, something local here. And again, brought to me by Big Pumpkin. So I'll check your comments, and then I'm going to shut it down, folks. I got to roll out, go pick up Forrest G. But I hope at least invoke thought. I don't have all the answers. Admittedly, I don't have all the answers. As my esteemed colleague said, you're just bumping your gums or running your gums or something. Smacking my gums. Anyhow. Why aren't more ships transiting the strait? Boils down to that word, uncertainty. Uncertainty in everybody's mind. Uncertainty, and then the factor is money. They'll say crew safety, but the rich people really care about us poor folks, or they care about that money. It's all about that money. Yeah, that's the only purpose of these streams. Hang out, invoke thought. I don't have all the answers. See, Geraldine, how are you? From Pennsylvania. Hope you're doing well. Okay, Mike and Glad brings up a good point. They got hit so hard and fast. I wonder if they really had time to send boats out there to mine the straits. That is a good point. But again, if if it's me on the 1 month diver with some ladies, I'm not rolling through there. If they say, hey, this area is restricted, it's off limits, I'm not rolling the dice either. I'm up for an adventure. I take a lot more risk than most people. But if somebody says, hey, that area is mined, I'm just not going to go there. Why would I? Until somebody of a competent authority, the U.S. Navy. If the U.S. Navy says, hey, we cleared it, the area is clear, all right, let's go. But I'm not trusting Iran, and I'm not going to call their bluff. That's all I need to know. So if I put myself in this captain's shoes who says uncertainty is just killing us, yeah, okay, nobody wants to be stuck there, dude, sweating, not making no money, not able to roll out. You're being held hostage aboard your own ship. I get it, but back in 2020, I was held hostage on my balcony. Nobody likes it. You will go out of your fucking mind. But, you know, we lived through that. You're going to live through being stuck on your ship for however much longer you're stuck there. You're going to make it. And really, until you know that it's safe to roll through there, do you really want to roll the dice? Especially when you got a crew that's that you're responsible for. You know, if it was just me, okay, I might run the gauntlet. But when you got other folks that you're responsible for on board, dude, just sit there and chill. Sit there and chill till the good old U.S. Navy says, all right, man, let's roll. Pretty simple. You'll get over it. I got over being held hostage on my balcony for a long time. So we'll all make it. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and shut her down. I just say hello to Kel. I see Eric, Michael. Oh, man, I'd love to have the 1 month diver over here. Love to have her over here. Let's see, Social Security Ninja, thank you for joining us. Lee, we'll see you. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Old single dad, got to go pick up Force G. And again, the next live stream, I'm going to talk about something very simple, more entertaining, and it has to do locally here with the PI. I'll give the Iran war coverage a break. As my esteemed colleague said, you're just bumping your gums. You're just flapping your gums. You're just running your gums. If you want expert advice, go somewhere else. And the question is, I'm not even going to ask the question, man. I'm just glad you're here, brother. Just don't go away. I'll see y'all on the next one, folks, and peace out. Signing off.